My name is Linda Karishma. I'm 36 years old, and I didn't know my relationship was already over when I nodded politely at a dinner table and agreed with the man sitting across from me. That's fair, I said, but nothing about what followed was fair at all. We'd been together for 2 years. 2 years of shared calendars, predictable weekends, split groceries, and the quiet comfort of knowing exactly where the other person would be at 9 p.m. on a Tuesday. I thought that meant something. I thought it meant we were building toward stability. Apparently it meant I was boring. We were at a trendy restaurant downtown, one of those places with minimalist menus and prices that assume you won't ask questions. Ethan, my boyfriend, had picked it. He always picked places that photographed well. He was scrolling through his phone between bites, barely touching his food, when he sighed, loud enough to be heard. "What?" I asked. He turned his screen toward me. A woman ziplining through a rainforest, arms stretched wide, hair flying everywhere, grin manic and fearless. His ex-girlfriend. "Sabrina, that could have been us," he said. "But you're just not spontaneous enough." I blinked. "You're comparing me to Sabrina?" I asked carefully. "I'm not defending what she did," he said quickly. "She cheated, I know. But life with her was exciting. You plan everything, weeks in advance, budgets, spreadsheets," he laughed. "Sometimes I feel like I'm dating a project manager." I set my fork down slowly. "Sabrina maxed out your credit cards and left you with $8,000 in debt," I said. "That's not the point," he snapped. "You're missing the point." "Am I?" "You're safe," he continued. "Predictable, boring. There's no passion, no adventure. Remember when I wanted to drive to that music festival last minute? You said we needed to check schedules and finances. Because adults do." "Sometimes," he said, shaking his head, "I feel like I'm dating a spreadsheet." That one stuck. I nodded slowly. "That's fair." He looked surprised. "That's it? What do you want me to say?" He shrugged, clearly satisfied. "I don't know. I just wish you were more like her." There it was. Not shouted, not dramatic, just casually cruel. I smiled, took another bite of steak, and let him believe the conversation was over. That night, while he slept beside me, arms slung carelessly across my waist, I stared at the ceiling and made a decision. If he wanted spontaneous, I could do spontaneous. At 2:13 a.m., I booked 2 first-class tickets to Hawaii. 5 days, ocean view suite, non-refundable. It cost just over $14,000. I didn't hesitate. Saturday morning, I told him to pack. "We're leaving tomorrow," I said. His eyes lit up. "Seriously? Where?" "It's a surprise." He kissed me like I'd finally passed a test. And as he posted about his mysterious, spontaneous girlfriend, I smiled, already knowing he had no idea what kind of surprise this really was. Sunday morning came too early. I woke up at 4:30 a.m., quietly slipping out of bed while Ethan slept through the alarm I hadn't set. I moved through the apartment with practiced silence, making coffee, checking my phone, confirming boarding passes I already knew were there. Everything was in place, planned, prepared, predictable. At exactly 5 o'clock, I shook his shoulder gently. "Hey," I said softly. "Adventure time." He groaned, then smiled when he saw the coffee in my hand. "You're serious about this?" "I told you," I said. "We're being spontaneous." That word again. It tasted strange in my mouth. He dressed faster than I'd ever seen him move, excitement buzzing off him like static. In the car to the airport, he wouldn't stop guessing. "California? Mexico? God, if it's Vegas." I just smiled and kept my eyes on the road. He posted selfies from the passenger seat captioned, "When your girlfriend finally gets it." Another one 10 minutes later, "Spontaneity beats spreadsheets." I didn't correct him. At the airport, he bounced on his heels like a kid on Christmas morning. It wasn't until we reached the check-in counter that he froze. "Hawaii," he breathed. "Linda, oh my God." "Surprise!" He laughed, loud and disbelieving. "First class? This must have cost—" "Don't worry about it," I said smoothly. Spontaneous people don't talk about money, remember? He kissed me right there in front of the airline staff. I'm sorry about what I said at dinner. You're amazing. This is perfect. Perfect. The flight was everything he'd imagined. Champagne before takeoff, endless photos of legroom and glassware and clouds through the window. He tagged me in every post, calling me the best girlfriend ever. The comments rolled in fast. Finally, she stepped up. Trevor could never. That one stung more than it should have. I played my part, smiled, nodded, let him rest his head on my shoulder while I stared out the window, calculating time zones and connections. We landed in Maui just after 2 p.m. The air smelled like salt and flowers and something expensive. The resort shuttle whisked us away, and when we stepped into the lobby, Ethan actually stopped walking. "Oh my God," he whispered. "This place is insane." The room was even better. Ocean view suite, floor-to-ceiling windows, a balcony big enough to host a dinner party. The bed looked untouched by humanity. He stood there, stunned, then turned to me with something dangerously close to awe. "This must be costing you a fortune." I put a finger to his lips. "Shh, you're ruining the fantasy." He laughed, pulling me into a hug. "I can't believe you did this." Neither could he. He unpacked immediately, spreading his clothes everywhere like he planned to claim the space permanently. I watched him hang shirts, line up shoes, arrange toiletries with the careless confidence of someone who believed this trip meant security. "I brought enough stuff for 2 weeks," he said, grinning, "just in case." "Of course you did." "I'm going to grab us drinks from the bar," I said. "Unpack, get comfortable. The sunset's supposed to be incredible." "Hurry back," he said. "I want to explore." I paused at the door, hand on the handle. "Actually," I said, turning back, "I've been thinking about what you said, about Sabrina." He stiffened. "Babe, I told you I'm sorry." No, I said calmly. "You were right." He relaxed, relieved. "I knew you'd understand." "I am predictable," I continued. "For example, you could probably predict that I don't stay with someone who compares me to their ex and calls me boring." His smile disappeared. "Linda." "But here's something spontaneous," I said, voice steady. "I'm leaving, right now." The silence that followed was deafening. "What?" He laughed weakly. "This is a joke." "Nope. The room's paid for through Thursday. You should enjoy it." His face drained of color. "You brought me here to break up with me?" "Spontaneous," I said gently. "Didn't see it coming, right?" "You can't be serious," he said, panic creeping in. "How am I supposed to get home?" "Sabrina would have figured it out," I replied. "I'm sure you can too. Your return ticket's in your name. Or change it, I don't care." I pulled out my phone and showed him my boarding pass. "My flight leaves in 3 hours," I said. "If I leave now, I'll make it." "Please," he said, voice cracking, "let's talk about this." "We did talk," I said. "You said I was boring, like dating a spreadsheet. Well, this spreadsheet just calculated that we're done." He started crying then. Real tears. "You can't leave me here alone." "You're at a 5-star resort in Hawaii," I said. "There are worse places to be dumped." He reached for me, but I stepped back. "This is what you wanted," I continued. "Unpredictability. Are you not entertained?" I grabbed my carry-on, the only bag I'd brought, and headed for the door. "I'll call my mom," he shouted after me. "Go ahead," I said. "Tell her how you compared me to your cheating ex." The door closed behind me, cutting off his sobbing. 3 hours later, I was airborne. I turned off my phone before the plane even finished taxiing. The flight home was quiet, peaceful. I slept for the first time in weeks. When I turned my phone back on after landing, it exploded. 73 messages, 31 missed calls, 18 voicemails. The progression was almost impressive. Anger, bargaining, apologies, threats. "You can't do this to me." "Okay, you made your point. Please, I'm sorry. I'll sue you." "Why would you do this?" I didn't respond to a single one. Monday morning, his mother called. "Linda," she snapped. "What the hell did you do to my son?" "I took him on a spontaneous trip to Hawaii," I said calmly. "Then I left him there. That was the spontaneous part." "He's traumatized." "He's at a luxury resort with a return ticket home. You need to send him money." There's free breakfast, I said. He'll survive. She hung up on me. By Thursday, according to Instagram, he was home. He posted about betrayal, about survival, about healing. But the beach selfies didn't stop, and I knew this wasn't over. Not even close. By Friday afternoon, I thought the worst of it might be over. That was my first mistake. I was halfway through reconciling a client's quarterly report at my desk when my phone rang. Unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. 30 seconds later, it rang again. Same number. I sighed and answered. "Miss Karishma," a professional voice said, "this is the fraud prevention department from your credit card issuer. We're calling regarding a dispute filed against several recent charges." My stomach tightened. What kind of dispute? "Your former partner, Ethan Hale, is claiming approximately $14,000 in travel-related charges were unauthorized." Of course he is. "I have receipts," I said calmly, "and written confirmation from him thanking me for the trip." There was a pause. "If you could forward those, that would help." "I'll send everything," I replied, including screenshots. The dispute was denied less than 3 hours later. That should have been the end of it. Instead, it was just the beginning of his reinvention. Ethan didn't go quiet. He went public. By Saturday morning, my name was circulating in Instagram stories I wasn't tagged in, but somehow still saw. A new highlight appeared on his profile. Abandoned in paradise. He filmed himself by the pool, alone. Sunglasses off for maximum vulnerability. "Day 3, he said softly. Still processing what she did. The comments were mixed. Some sympathy, some skepticism. More than a few people pointing out the ocean behind him. Someone wrote, "You're at a resort, not stranded on Mars." He blocked them. Then came the narrative shift. By Monday, the story wasn't about heartbreak anymore. It was about abuse. A long post appeared just after noon. "I'm finally ready to speak my truth. I was financially controlled, dependent, gaslit. When she cut me off without warning, it destroyed me emotionally. The math didn't math." People noticed. "Didn't you just post about your record sales bonus last month? If she was paying part of your rent, how is her stopping abuse?" The post vanished within an hour. Tuesday morning, I got a call from Melissa, his best friend. "You need to take him back," she said without preamble. "No," I replied. "He's a mess, Linda. He hasn't left his apartment. He posted brunch stories an hour ago." "Well, he left for brunch, but he's devastated." "Then why is he filming TikToks?" "He's processing." "He's performing," I said. "There's a difference." She exhaled sharply. "You know he can't afford his place without you." There it was. I'd been covering about $800 a month. Not all of it. Just enough to keep things comfortable when his income dipped. Sabrina never did that for him. Sabrina couldn't even pay her own bills. "That sounds like an Ethan problem," I said, "not a Linda problem." Melissa's voice hardened. "You're cold. A real woman wouldn't abandon a man like that. A real man wouldn't compare his girlfriend to his cheating ex." She hung up on me. Wednesday brought the lawyer letter. Some emotional damages specialist claiming I'd lured Ethan to Hawaii under false pretenses and intentionally inflicted emotional distress. I forwarded it to my friend Jake, who practiced contract law. He called me 10 minutes later, laughing. "She went willingly, publicly, posted gratitude. You left her, him, with a return ticket and a paid hotel. This goes nowhere. Should I respond?" "I'll respond for fun," he said, "but ignore it otherwise." That night, Ethan made his biggest mistake. He posted screenshots of our text conversations to prove how calculated I was. He forgot to crop. The screenshots clearly showed him comparing me to Sabrina, calling me boring, saying I wasn't passionate enough, complaining that I planned too much. The comments turned brutal. "So you insulted her and she took you to Hawaii? You compared her to your cheating ex and you're surprised?" Spreadsheet girl did the math. Within an hour, his account went private. Thursday morning, security called my office. "There's a woman in the lobby demanding to see you," the receptionist said. "Name's Carol Hale." I froze. "I don't have an appointment." "She says she's your boyfriend's mother." "I don't have a boyfriend." They turned her away. She waited in the parking garage, blocked my car when I tried to leave. "You destroyed my son," she said, eyes blazing. Your son compared me to his ex and called me boring, I replied evenly. I took him on vacation and broke up with him. He had to move back home. So he's 33 and can't support himself? She gasped. You're heartless. No, I said. I'm spontaneous. Isn't that what he wanted? Security escorted her off the property. That night, Ethan created a new account. The video was titled My Truth, Narcissistic Manipulation. Full makeup, ring light, carefully rehearsed. He accused me of love bombing him with Hawaii. Claimed I'd planned the breakup to humiliate him. But when you record emotionally, you forget what's behind you. The designer bag I bought him for Christmas. The laptop for his freelance work. The framed photos of us he hadn't taken down. And the whiteboard. 2024. Goals. Get Linda to propose. Convince her to buy a house. Joint account access. Upgrade car. Linda pays. It went viral by morning. Comments were merciless. The manipulation is coming from inside the house. Spreadsheet didn't add up. By Friday, Ethan disappeared offline. Saturday morning, I received a text from an unfamiliar number. This is Mark, Ethan's dad. Could we talk? I called him. I'm sorry, he said immediately. I saw the video, the board. I'm embarrassed. It is what it is, I replied. You were good to him, Mark said quietly. Too good, maybe. He got comfortable. He wanted spontaneous, I said. Mark laughed softly. You know, what you did wasn't even reckless. You planned everything, paid, left him safe. The most Sabrina thing I could have done was leave him stranded, I said. I didn't. He knows he screwed up, Mark said. The comparison. He regrets it. Not enough, I replied. By Sunday, the final blow landed. Ethan launched a GoFundMe. Help me rebuild after emotional abuse. Goal, $10,000. He raised $47, $40 from his mom. I closed my laptop and leaned back in my chair. The noise was finally dying down. But I knew one thing for certain. This wasn't about revenge. It was about clarity. And clarity once earned doesn't go away. 3 months passed, not quietly, but steadily. The kind of steady that only comes after chaos burns itself out. By the second week after the GoFundMe disaster, Ethan had vanished from public view entirely. His Instagram account was deleted, TikTok wiped, LinkedIn quietly updated to open to opportunities, which told me everything I needed to know without saying a word. The world moved on faster than he expected. It usually does. I heard updates indirectly at first. A mutual acquaintance mentioned he'd taken a second job at a co-working space. Another said he'd moved back in with his mother permanently. Someone else whispered that his professional reputation had taken a hit. Clients didn't love hiring someone whose name was now associated with abandoned in paradise memes. I never asked follow-up questions. Peace had returned to my life, and I wasn't interested in inviting noise back in. Then, one afternoon in late October, an envelope arrived at my apartment. Actual mail. Thick paper. Careful handwriting. I stared at it longer than necessary before opening it. Inside was a letter. Linda, I don't know if you'll read this. I don't know if you should. But I need to say this without a comment section, without a camera, without my mom or my friends or anyone else shaping the narrative. Comparing you to Sabrina was cruel. I knew it the moment I said it. And instead of apologizing properly, I doubled down because it was easier than admitting I was wrong. You were stable, reliable, generous. And I mistook those things for boring because chaos was familiar to me. The Hawaii trip wasn't cruel. I see that now. You didn't abandon me. You gave me exactly what I asked for, excitement. And you made sure I was safe the entire time. The fact that you planned everything and still left me with a way home proves you were never the villain I tried to make you. I'm sorry for the social media posts, the lawyer, my mom showing up at your work. That was all wrong. I've started therapy. Real therapy. Not Instagram growth disguised as healing. I'm working on why I confuse attention with love and why I expect other people to finance my life. You didn't deserve any of this. I hope you find someone who appreciates you exactly as you are. Spreadsheets included. Ethan. I folded the letter carefully and placed it in a drawer. I didn't respond. Not because I was angry, but because some apologies are meant to be acknowledged silently, and some bridges, once burned, are supposed to stay that way. 2 weeks later, I met Daniel. It wasn't dramatic, no sparks flying across crowded rooms, no cinematic coincidence. We met at a friend's small dinner party, seated next to each other because we both arrived early, a detail neither of us apologized for. He was an engineer, thoughtful, calm, curious in a quiet way. We talked about work, travel, the best coffee in the city. At one point, I mentioned I liked planning trips in advance. He smiled. That's actually kind of attractive, he said. Preparation means you get to relax once you're there. I felt something in my chest loosen. Our third date was a walk through a botanical garden. On the 5th, we compared Google calendars. By the 7th, we were planning a weekend trip to Costa Rica. I'll build a spreadsheet, I said automatically. Perfect, he replied. I'll handle flights. No judgment, no jokes, no comparisons, just alignment. A month later, as we finalized hotel options, Daniel leaned back in his chair and laughed. You know what's funny? He said. What? Most people think spontaneity is doing things without thinking. But the best experiences I've had were with people who planned so well that nothing went wrong. I smiled. Across town, according to Mark, Ethan's father, life was less harmonious. Ethan had tried to reconnect with Sabrina. She ghosted him within 2 days. Apparently, she'd moved on to someone else, someone with a bigger credit limit and fewer questions. Mark told me Ethan was still living with his mother, still in therapy, still struggling to rebuild professionally after the viral fallout. He knows he messed up, Mark said during our last call. Not just with you, with himself. I hope he figures it out, I replied, and I meant it. A week later, Mark sent me one final message. Ethan saw your relationship status update. He's been quiet since. Carol wants him to sue you again. I told them both to let it go. I didn't reply. Daniel and I left for Costa Rica the following month. Everything was booked, confirmed, planned down to the hour. At the airport, as we waited to board, Daniel nudged my arm. You excited? Very, I said. He grinned. You know what I like most about this trip? What? I don't have to worry about anything going wrong. As the plane lifted off, I thought about Hawaii, not with regret, but with clarity. I'd spent $14,000 on that trip, not on revenge, on a lesson. For him, about entitlement. For me, about boundaries. People who crave chaos will always resent stability. But stability? Stability lets you walk away cleanly. And the most spontaneous thing I ever did wasn't leaving someone in paradise. It was choosing never to go back. The last time I heard Ethan's name, it wasn't attached to drama. It was attached to silence. That was how I knew the story was truly over. 6 months had passed since Hawaii. Not the kind of months measured in apologies or lingering anger, but the kind measured in routine. Morning coffee that stayed hot. Weekends that didn't feel like emotional negotiations. A life that no longer required me to explain my value to someone determined not to see it. Peace is quiet like that. One afternoon, while clearing out an old drawer, I found the letter again. Ethan's apology. The careful handwriting. The attempt at accountability. I reread it once, then slid it back into the envelope and placed it in a file marked closed. Not metaphorically, literally. That was my final calculation. Daniel and I had been together just over 4 months by then. Still early, still careful, but grounded in a way that felt unfamiliar at first. Not thrilling, not chaotic, not fueled by adrenaline or insecurity. Just solid. We sat at my kitchen table on a Sunday afternoon, laptops open, comparing hotel options for our next trip. Another trip. Planned, confirmed, paid for without resentment or expectation. You know, Daniel said, scrolling, most people would call this boring. I smiled. Let them. He looked up at me. I used to think boring was bad too. Turns out, boring is just peaceful without the trauma. That line stayed with me. A few days later, I got a message from Mark, Ethan's father. Short, neutral, final. Just wanted you to know, Ethan's moving out of Carol's place. New job, still in therapy. No lawsuits. He's letting it go. Good, I thought. So was I. Out of curiosity, the kind you allow yourself only when the emotional charge is gone, I searched Ethan's name once. Nothing came up. No think pieces, no rage posts, no redemption arc, just absence. It felt right. The irony wasn't lost on me. The man who once accused me of being boring had burned through every ounce of attention available to him, and now lived without any. That's the thing about chasing excitement. Eventually, it gets bored of you. Daniel and I hosted a small dinner party that weekend. 6 people. Home-cooked food, candles, no photos, no posts. Just conversation and laughter and the soft clink of glasses. At one point, someone asked how we met. Early to the party, Daniel said. Predictably early, I added. Everyone laughed. Later that night, as we cleaned up together, Daniel leaned against the counter and watched me stack plates. Can I ask you something? He said. Always. Do you ever miss it? He asked. The chaos, the intensity. I thought about Hawaii, about the silence after the door closed, about the airplane lifting off, about the relief that came when my phone stopped vibrating. No, I said, I miss who I thought I had to be to survive it, but I don't miss living that way. He nodded, understanding exactly what I meant. The next morning, I woke up to an email notification from my credit card company. Your annual spending summary is ready. Out of habit, I opened it. There it was. $14,000. Hawaii. The single largest discretionary expense I'd made all year. I stared at the number for a moment, then closed the email. Worth every cent. Not because of the destination, but because of the exit. You see, people like Ethan confuse generosity with obligation, stability with stagnation, planning with control. They mistake calm for weakness because they've never learned to sit with themselves without distraction. They don't want spontaneity. They want escape. And when you refuse to bankroll that escape, they call you cruel. I was precise. Months later, Daniel and I stood at the airport again. Different destination, same method. Everything booked weeks in advance. As we waited to board, Daniel nudged my arm. You know what? What? I never have to worry about getting home. I smiled. That was the difference. Trevor-style spontaneity, chaos without responsibility, leaves wreckage behind. I made sure everyone got home safe, even the person I left behind. As we took our seats, Daniel opened his laptop. I leaned my head against the seat and laughed. Life is good when you're boring. Predictable means stable. Planned means prepared. And spreadsheets? Spreadsheets help you calculate exactly when to cut your losses and exactly when to walk away. Hawaii, it was because it taught me this. If someone wants chaos, don't compete with it. Make sure everyone survives, and never apologize for choosing peace over performance.